Welcome back to Design Build Workshop. Today we're going to talk about this wall-mounted tool cabinet. So when I initially decided to build this, it was for two reasons. One was I wanted a decorative way to display some of my hand tools. And the main reason was that the rolling tool chest was getting a little too congested. Especially with the deep drawers, I was actually digging through trying to get to the right tool, and that got to be a little cumbersome. So I decided that I wanted to lay my tools out so I could access them, pretty easily, which is the reason I did this the way I did it. So a lot of tool cabinets have doors that open in a couple layers, and I decided that I like the sliding panel system. So basically there will be two panels in the front, and there will be one panel in the middle, and then you've got the back wall. And so the way I'm kind of thinking about it is that the front panels will be a little more decorative. So I've got my chisels on this one. This panel is going to have my measuring tools, squares, that type of thing. And then this back panel is going to have more of the stuff that's maybe not so handsome. And so we're talking about my pneumatic tools and that kind of thing that I can hang back here. And this can be actually a little bit thicker compared to what some of these are as far as depth. And then there'll be a middle panel here that will have one slider on it. And that's because we'll run into trouble here because these planes, the plane till sticks out so far that the panel in back can only go, halfway. And so by doing that though, it still allows me access to every part of this back piece back here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this front rail, which is what helps guide the panels on. And then I can take this one out. And then, so that'll show you what I have for this back panel. And you can see this would be the 1/3 mark. And so I haven't really decided exactly how I'm going to lay this out yet, but I've got this piece, and this is right on the 1/3 line. So this is exactly 1/3. So when I have a panel over here, if you look straight on, you're not going to see what's back behind there. Something to remember when you are doing something like this panel, you noticed, is painted on the back side as well. That's because if I were just to paint one side, paint is like a substance that will cause resistance as far as moisture is concerned. So if you were just to paint one side and not the other, you're going to tend to, even if it's plywood, you're going to have it start to warp. So when you're doing something like this, make sure you either seal both sides, paint both sides, whatever that you do, make sure you do it equally. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue with warping. I'll show you how the plane till works. Basically, there's a little catch on the bottom, and a little tab that'll catch in the top. There's my number 3 and number 4. My first 3 have been restored. So number 6 and the number 7. I've just started to take apart to get it set. So it is incomplete and the rest of the parts are being worked on. You can see that gets held in like that. And then I've got my 45 plane, which I put right up here. So I carved this piece so it kind of grabs the round piece right there, and it kind of holds it in place. And then I've got rip saw, which will go over here like so. And I'm probably going to put little divots in here so that kind of holds that in place. I really only have room for maybe 3. I might be able to sneak 4 saws in here, but I doubt it. So that's how that's set up. Let's talk about some of the construction. This was going to bear a lot of weight. Tools are usually very heavy, and I didn't want to have to be concerned about that. So basically the box is 3/4 inch plywood, which I basically built out of scrap of other projects that I had. And then it's got 3/4 inch ply support pieces that are angled back. And then right here is another piece of 3/4 ply, and this is drilled into the studs. So as far as holding weight downward, I've got a lot of support in here, and that's, like I said, critical for holding this in place. As far as the way it's screwed to the wall, is there are a number of screws that go into the studs right through the back panel, which is also 3/4 inch plywood. One of the reasons I placed it where I did was this outlet. And so I'm hoping in the future, once this gets done, or probably halfway in between, I'm gonna have my battery charging area right here for my cordless tools. And then I'm hoping to place most of those in these other two open, areas right here. We'll see how that goes, but I liked having the power here just so I could, have that access. So normally when I design and build a project, I start on the computer, or I start with a drawing, figure out what I'm going to do, almost to the point where I figure out all the measurements, so everything is set up so I can pre-cut. This was different. I decided that I wanted to kind of let this be a project that I could really enjoy and be really creative with. So none of this has really been planned out, other than probably the box itself. And then the panels are basically in thirds of the box itself. And then all of the other pieces that are put on here, as far as holding tools in place, some decoration, is hardwood scrap that I had left over from other projects. So I went with cherry and walnut. And the reason I did that was because I had a lot of that left over. So that's what we're going with on this. And it just makes it kind of fun to kind of be creative on the spur of the moment when you're doing something. So I had my chisel set, and I was like, well, how am I going to display my chisel set? So I decided to go with columns and an arch. And then up here, there's going to be capitals that are going to be on these pieces here, so it'll cover up these holes. All the holes will end up being covered up, eventually. But right now, it's basically being taken apart, put back together, taken apart. So I need that access. And then, this panel will obviously be as decorated as this one. And then the middle panel will probably have a little bit going on for it. But mainly what's going to happen is when these are displayed, or when this is in its display position, it's going to be this way. So you see the plane till, the saws, the chisels, and then the measuring tools. So in the next video, we're going to go ahead and probably lay out either the 2/3 back over here, or I may lay out one of these, may lay out this one. Although I feel like doing the ones in the front are more fun because they're a little more decorative. So I think I really need to get to the meat and potatoes and get those pieces of, other pieces of tooling and machinery that I want to put back here, get that done first, because this I'm going to take more time on. So I'd rather get this done so I can get those pieces out of the rolling tool cabinet and get them placed in here. So I'd like to know what you think about the build so far. And I guess I'd really like to know if you guys are also doing something similar to this. What kind of tooling, how you're addressing your tool storage. Are you displaying anything, or is everything just in a metal cabinet? Or if this is something that you might be interested in doing yourself, or if you actually are doing something like this as well. Hey, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time on Design Build Workshop.